So give me a second. I'm going to mute me for a second until we get going. Okay, welcome back to Cultivating Connections. We are excited to be back with you again. Yesterday, you may have joined North Carolina State Grange for their bingo, and we thank them for hosting that and giving you all an opportunity to have some fun with your Grange friends. Today, we're back with some information, and specifically information about a new program and also just about what Granges are doing. So the most appropriate guest is Pete Pompper, our National Grange Community Service Director, and he's here with us. Hey, Pete, how are you?
I am well, Amanda, and yourself?
I'm great. It looks like you are sitting in a Grange lobby.
I am in my Grange room at the house where I have all my Grange memorabilia. I was counting them up. I think I've got 20 state Grange plates when they had their 100th anniversaries, several Granges, a few Pomona Granges. And it's quite interesting collecting those over the years.
Well, I think I have two, or I had two at one point. I may have given them away to be sold at one of the auctions. So now I know if I find one, who to take it to.
I'm missing a couple. I got the tough one. I got Missouri.
Oh, that is a tough one.
That was a tough
There are no Granges currently in Missouri, and that's such a shame because it was such a stronghold state at one point. So if you're tuning in from Missouri, you'll have to let us know because we may be interested in talking with you. But in the meantime, Pete, I'm really excited about a new program that you guys announced because kids in Missouri could benefit from it. Kids in, Utah, where we've never had a Grange. Kids wherever could benefit from it. And so I wanted to talk with you. I want to start out talking with you about Operation Graduation.
Thanks, Amanda. This is an idea that came out of a discussion we've been having, a few of us have been having, with the kids not being able to have a normal graduation, shall we say. I thought it was an opportunity for Granges on the national level, and the more I think about it on a local level, state level, Pomona level, to reach out to their members who are graduating from kindergarten, 8th grade, high school, college. I was contacted by North Carolina. They do 5th grade graduations. I said, that's fine. Kids graduating from something, they should be recognized. And having discussions, that's why we came up with the idea of collecting the information. I want to thank Mandy Boswick, our National Grange Youth Director. She came up with a form and a way to capture all this information very easily and then fan it out, farm it out to whatever individual will be sending them a personal letter from the Grange, from a National Grange office.
I was at my dad's house yesterday, and I was going through some stuff that he has there, I have there, really. And I found a box of all kinds of things. Found a box of photos, box of old versions of text messages. You know what that is, the little note we used to pass in class. And I found in that, the citation from our senator, or our local congressman, and our state senator, congratulations on your graduation. And it made me really think of this because at the time, that was such a neat thing to receive, and a little lost in everything else going on because we had the pomp and circumstance, very literally, and caps and the gowns and the whole thing. But since those kids are missing that now, these letters I don't think are going to be, they're still going to be great like they were then, but I think it's going to be additionally wonderful to have that recognition.
I agree, because I believe people will probably be doing memory books, scrapbooks, whatever term you want to use. And these letters will go in there. I know when I was state master in New Jersey, I had a couple Granges that were very, very active in Boy Scouts. One's been sponsoring a troop for 75 years. And when they would have one of their Eagle Scout or Scouts get his Eagle Scout, they would send me information, and I would send him a letter from the New Jersey State Grange. Hey, congratulations on your accomplishment. That's kind of what spurred this also. you know, and especially for I truly believe for the kindergartners, eighth graders, even high school, you know, this will mean a lot to them because people don't get letters like they should. And people don't get, well, nice letters. You know, we all get the letters we don't want. But, you know, just to get a letter, hey, somebody recognizing, you know, you've accomplished this and we want to congratulate you. Something tactile they can hold in their hand, you know, instead of an email or a phone call. You know, this they can hold on. As you said, I'm sure some mom's going to put it in a memory box somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years later, I was finding those things. So it would be really neat for these folks to get these now. And even if they're not affiliated or attached with the Grange today, you know, that may spur an attachment. Or 20 years later, when they're cleaning out something out of their old room from high school, they might find it and say, it was really nice that the Grange invested in me then. Let me see where they are and what they're doing today.
Yes. And I'm sure when you found that, it probably brought a little smile to your face, you know, and
Yeah.
it brought back some good memories. And that's part of what this is also, you know, and we've reached out. We're going to, uh, Samantha Wilkins is going to send letters along with Betsy, National Master Betsy, to like the kindergarten, eighth grade graduation. Mandy Boswick, your youth director, is going to send them to the high school and the college graduates. And anybody else who would want to send a letter, like I said, if you know someone, Grange member graduating from the University of Alabama, you're an alumni. You know, it'd be great for them to get a letter, hey, alumni to alumni, congratulations. You know, if a local Grange, you know, let's face it, a lot of Grange are in small towns. It was a wonderful thing. You know all the kids graduating. You know, drop them off a note, drop them off a card. Eventually, when a lot of this goes away and we can start having dinners and meetings again, you know, then invite them over to a meeting, or I'd invite them to a dinner personally, you know, cake and ice cream, and just kind of recognize and make a fuss over them. You know,
Yeah, we talked it earlier this year before you guys had ever come up with this concept about, you know, figuring out ways that you can throw open your doors, welcome people into your halls when this is over. And I think that's a fantastic reason. I mean, because it certainly, you know, it's nice that the Grange is doing that, and it's great for people to recognize who we are and what we do in our community, but it's not about us at that moment. And I think that that's such a Grange principle. It's not about us. It's about making sure that those kids get that recognition.
well, you know, we're family. We're a family organization, and this is what families do. They reach out and they pat you on the back. Now, trust me, I've had the Grange ladies hit me in the butt a couple times for something stupid I did, but you look back and stuff like that, it's family, and it makes you grow as a better person, and it shows the community that the Grange, you know, recognizes and values education, values our future, values the kids, what they're doing. You know, it just makes us a more personal organization. And in today's world, as people are starting to open up a little bit and be able to get out more, you know, they need to see that we're there, open arms. Hey, what can we do to help?
Sorry. So we had a question about what if you don't know the graduate's address? And I think that that makes some sense. You might know somebody who's got a kid, but you don't particularly know the address that they're living at. Can they have it sent, addressed to the kid, but then sent to them and they can deliver it or
Oh,
get it?
absolutely. Absolutely. That'd be a great idea. That's a great, I never thought about that. Sure. I think a personal delivery as such is a wonderful touch. That's a great idea.
We also have another question. Ryan Orton mentioned that they have several members who were graduating from eighth grade, moving on, and several even of their members are officers, which is awesome to hear that you've got, you know, 14, 15, 16-year-old officers. But they were never part of junior Grange because they didn't have a junior Grange nearby. So they're subordinate members. So he was wondering if Mandy Boswick could sign those instead of Samantha, even though, again, the age you know, may put the eighth graders in one category or the other.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm sure if you reach out to Mandy, she'd be tickled to death to do that.
Yeah,
This is a fluid program,
yeah,
and we're going to make it
really
work.
exciting that you can kind of personalize this a little bit, like you said.
Oh, I think personalizing it is a wonderful way to do it. I know Samantha's going to try to find some fun paper, you know, designed paper, kids more more younger kid centric paper to put it on instead of just a white sheet of paper, that type of stuff. So absolutely. Yeah.
So, and there's another member, Sharon Taylor, who said that they've made homemade appreciations for all of their members and families. So, some of these Granges are also taking that next step, or they've taken a step already, and they might be able to integrate this into it. I think that's really an exciting point that they're making, that they're finding ways to connect locally as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not shocked to hear this, because I just, Granges can't surprise me anymore because of the wonderful things they're doing. And to see Granges reaching out in their community to the members is great. We just need to keep track of that. I love to share that kind of stuff on my community service and activities Facebook page, because a lot of information is gleaned from that, and different ideas. That it's more for idea sharing. As I was talking to Loretta Washington yesterday about something, and she said, Grange is starting to brag a little more. We just need to keep bragging more of what we're doing, if more than anything, just so other Granges can get ideas or thoughts and concepts that they hadn't thought of.
Yeah, I think, I'm glad that you brought this in, because I wanted to talk a little bit about your Facebook page. It's a group, which we've talked a little bit about what some of those differences are on a previous program. And that group, obviously anybody could join, but it's really great for Grange members to be able to go and see it as a resource. And that's something that you've been keeping up for several years. And first of all, I have to tell you from my end, I really appreciate that, because it's hard to inundate a page with different things every single day. And you might lose an announcement that's important in amongst the other things that are great. So you don't want to not recognize them, but it's hard to balance. So having your group and having you do that has been fantastic. So first of all, I want to say thanks for that. But more than that, you've been doing that page now, or that group now, for quite a while. Have you seen an uptick in activity now in the COVID crisis?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Granges are getting out of their comfort zone. I think you noticed the one I posted yesterday from Cape Fear Grange in North Carolina. Their local representative, state representative, I believe, put a
U.S. Congressman.
Oh, U.S. Congressman. Okay, I knew I was off. Posted a great hometown heroes video just specifically for Cape Fear Grange and what they're doing in their community, and the community group that they've founded to help get meals to the hospitals, the volunteers, and those groups. That Grange probably hadn't done that before. Grange in Delaware, same thing. They're reaching out to the hospitals. You see Granges all over the country, as I said, getting out of their comfort zone, saying, how can we help? You look at, and I'll mention this lady as many times as I can. Ruth Blassingame in Illinois has made over 900 masks and has donated them to every possible group she can think of. I believe she sent some into the National Grange building and staff.
She did. In fact, I got my own personal one. I'm not going to say I'm the favorite child, but thank you, Ruth, because I got an Alabama one. She must have had fabric that she found, or that she had, that had Alabama, University of Alabama on it. So how incredible is that to have our members do things like that?
Oh, that's and Ruth is obviously above and beyond, but there's several Granges made hundreds of masks. I know Granger, who has made in New Jersey, she's made over 100 masks and over 100 isolation gowns.
Isolation gowns. That's something different I haven't heard of.
I had not either, and it's something I'm researching. But yeah, Anne-Marie's made over 100 isolation gowns on top of working full time.
Wow. It's really incredible, the stories that you're able to share. And I'm hoping that everybody goes from here, opens a new window or a new tab in their browser, goes to Facebook, types in National Grange Community Service, sees the group, and asks to join that group, because they'll be able to get incredible ideas for what they could be doing personally or as a Grange at this point. But Pete, before this crisis, what were some of the things that you saw pretty regularly, and what were some things that stood out to you that you think could still be happening?
Uh, a multitude of things, obviously. Grange's Words for Thirds is still the big one. We've given out over 1 million dictionaries now since the start of the program, however many years ago. Grangers throughout the country work with foster parents programs throughout the country, making backpacks that they give to the social services organizations. So when those groups come in and they have to remove a child from a home, I can't imagine how devastating it is for a child. But to be removed from a home and not really able to grab much of anything at all, if anything, Granges are putting together backpacks that have, one is a backpack, so they got something, but they have toiletries in it. They might have some socks in it. They might have, a couple pairs of sweatpants. I'm not sure. Books, diaries, because they found out kids need to write their feelings down. And it's come to the point now where the social service agencies in the counties will call them and say, hey, we're getting low. Can you make us some more? Those are big in New York State and in Montana.
That is such
Delaware does the stuffed animals for the hospitals and the ambulance squads. So if they have a child come in, they can give them this stuffed animal they can hold. Obviously quilts of valor is a big one. That's going really well. Those types of programs on top of scholarships. Though Grange just do so many wonderful things.
And I mean, we've talked about nothing surprises us really. Granges do an incredible array of projects, but as this crisis has unfolded, what have been some of the things that have just impressed or amazed you, or you sat and thought, I would have never thought of that?
Oh, I think Gene Fletcher with taking his 3D printer and making the face mat, the full shields, but he's making that goes the shield, not the shield part, but the band part. He's making those on a 3D printer. And there's another Granger doing that. Gentleman, I believe I'm going to get this wrong, Oregon, who came up with the idea for the portable sanitation stations at your grain halls.
Oh, Washington, yeah.
So if you have an event going on, you've got your sanitation station right there. You can move around, and it was simplistic in its beauty. But there's somebody that said we need to do this, and you know what? I'm going to do it.
I just tell you that Ruth must have heard her ears ringing because I just saw that she got on this video. So she may have to rewind this a little bit later.
We shall. We'll bring that up. I'll sing her praises. Granges, Texas, with making quilts. Still doing the quilts of valor, which we need to continue the programs we're doing. Granges in California, opening up, doing what they do, helping out. It's interesting that High Desert Grange in Nevada, they are still working closely with their juniors and youth on the livestock program. Even though they're not having the youth fairs and the livestock fairs for the kids to show and don't even take offense when I use the word kids. I know kids are baby goats, but anybody younger than me is a kid. They're still really working with the kids. They're still working with the kids to help with the livestock. So Granges are still doing, and they're still active in their communities. And Grange is having Zoom meetings or having conference call meetings. Is that a community service? Well, no, but we're kind of seeing where we've had some people that aren't Grange members join those meetings. Nobody says they can, and it's showing interest in the community. Here's an organization still going forward. We haven't stopped. We haven't stopped moving. We're as Ada Chief that used to say, lead, follow, get out of the way.
I would have never, a lot of us hold bingo or have bingo in our communities to raise money for things, but just holding bingo, I would have never thought of as a community service before, because maybe it wouldn't have checked that box in the same way because you had so many options of things to do, right? But now North Carolina and Pennsylvania holding bingo. I was really excited the other week to hold our first trivia. We're holding one on Friday night again. And just like you said, I had a friend who we have played trivia with here at a local restaurant a couple times who joined us for that. She's not a Grange member, but by the end of it, you know, she was convinced that the Grange is a great organization. She might be interested in joining. It is a community service what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's giving individuals in their homes who haven't left their homes for several weeks, and there are some, an opportunity to interact with people, get some social interaction going on. So don't be afraid to invite your friends that might not be Grange members to an event that you're hosting, or as you said, the bingo, the trivia, the date nights, which I think are just spectacular. It has gotten people out of their comfort zone for sure to participate in that, and it's wonderful. I throw a suggestion out to an individual might be contacting you for a date night, something
I was
kind of
hoping
different.
it was you. I thought that you would come on and do something.
No. I save the greatness for others.
I was figuring you would bring out your shiny jacket and do some entertaining skit or talent.
You never know. You never know.
True. But these things are all service now. And I think the one thing that we're going to see if Granges do what they need to do is our community service numbers are going to track quite high this year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Granges, every Grange needs to keep track of what they are doing, not only numbers of hours, but amounts. As I said, Ruth Blassingame, Illinois, over 900 masks. I'm sure there's other people in her Grange making as many. Anne Marie in New Jersey making several hundred masks and isolation gowns. And I think it's Cibolo Grange in Texas, and any Grange. Everybody's making masks. I don't care if it's 2. Please keep track of those numbers and please let us know. In part of it, just so I can brag about it, because I love bragging about what our members are doing, but also on your end, Amanda, and on the National Grange Ed, especially Bert and Eller's end, when they're talking to different groups, they're trying to find funding, they're trying to get involved with other groups, and they say, what are you doing? Well, I'm glad you asked me, because now I can show you what we're doing. Here's the numbers, and they're probably low.
And, Pete, we had a session week and a half or so ago talking about how to make a good brochure. Mm-hmm. And if you looked at that tool, one of the things that it says is have a panel that brags on yourself, that talks about what you do. Because when somebody comes and says, do you want to join me, or do you want to give money to my organization or whatever, I want to know what your impact is, because that's wonderful if you've impacted 4 children and important. But if you've impacted 400, I'm probably more likely to either join or give, because I know that my dollar's stretching further. And so as you are doing these projects, you're not just collecting them for Pete for the community service report. You're not just collecting them for us for the foundation reports and the national service reports, but you're collecting them for yourself in order to show people, if they become a member or if they come to your roast beef dinner, this is the type of impact they're having.
Oh, sure. What's the bang for my buck? And as you said, with the dinners, okay, everybody supports Grange for dinners. Well, you got to let them know where the money's going. And if you do, they're likely to continue on, coming to those dinners. And that's important. You look back, how many people have learned to sew masks that have never sewn before, or have not had a sewing machine out and had to find a manual to figure out how to get it because it's old. There's no Google on how to search, how to YouTube it. But that's where Granges have stepped up and said, okay, how many Granges posted directions on how to sew a mask, even by hand, that type of stuff. I see Granges now starting to get into the gardening. It's that time of year. Plant swaps, putting information about, okay, because, that's one of the big things now. They keep talking about victory gardens. And people are wanting to start having their own little gardens now and don't know where to start or how to start. And, Granges for years have partnered with master gardeners and that type of thing. I'm sure if Granges reach out to their local land grant college, their ag college in their state, they'd be more than glad to to give you some type of information, some type of brochure, something that you could hand out. Calvert Grange in Maryland, they keep posting when the Maryland Department of Agriculture posted different programs that you can watch on the computer. Part of it as part of homeschooling, and part of it so people can learn.
I was thinking a lot about a question that I was asked a while back. And it's a kind of tricky question. It's great that we allow communities to choose and Granges to choose what they need to do. It's also sometimes a deterrent because we can't point to a single big program that's ours, right? But I think if ever there's a time for us to say that this is one of the reasons that we're not top down in our programming and our service requirements, it's because of a time like this. Because in your community, Pete, you might have, a fantastic sewing group that's doing amazing little packets and tutorials, and everything is there. I mean, everybody in town knows to go and look at their stuff, but there's nobody teaching them how to, plant their own tomato plant or budget for a home better or something like that. And that's where your Grange can excel. And it would be totally opposite in another community. Can you talk a little bit about, because you've been a state president, you understand how important it is for Granges to have their own identity and read their community.
Oh, I agree. I have said that since I was volunteered for this position however many years ago. Is just that fact. They said, why don't we have a national program? Well, as I've said, and you just stated, what works one place isn't really going to work another. And I'd rather have a Grange be known for what they are in their community. And nobody knows better what a Grange needs than that Grange and those individuals. And it doesn't just have to be one thing. It can be many things that a Grange does and does well in their community. And far be it for me to dictate, no, you can't do that. Nope, that's not our program. Yeah, you have to do this. And there's no need for that at all in your community. What have we accomplished other than drove some people away and not really accomplished a goal at all? Where if a Grange is strong, go for it. That's what you do, and that's what you do well. And your community responds to that. By God, do it all you can. Absolutely.
I saw Lizzie Bailey, who is our state's communications and membership director here in Pennsylvania, but she's also the master president of our local Grange here at Cumberland Valley. They've done things over the summer programs for kids, up to 1,000 kids sometimes in a summer. So some really amazing outreach, but obviously they're not able to do a lot of that stuff now. So they've taken some of their tried and true programs, obviously changed them up a little bit. They're doing a online leadership class now for 24 kids, to far cry from 1,000, but the experience that those 24 are going to have and what they're going to be able to give back to the community because of what they learned there could definitely impact more than that 1,000 later. So I'm wondering if you've seen any Granges that seem to have just kind of tweaked or changed something that's been a tried and true for them to still make sure that they're meeting those community needs, but they're doing it in a way that works today.
Well, I think, I can't recall anything right off the top of my head, but we had a Grange, and that's why I was looking for my phone. I'm looking around, looking for my phone. I can't find it.
Do you need me to call you?
No, it was somewhere in the house. But there's a Grange that just posted a couple days ago where if you need to use the Wi-Fi, come to their Grange hall, park outside. They can put so many cars in the parking lot. They even know how many feet away from the Grange hall you can be where it won't work. And have opened their doors that way to the community so people can access, do what they need to do. Especially for distance learning for kids to learn or, to do your census, whatever it might be. Yeah, but here's a Grange that says, okay, we've got Wi-Fi. Let's let everybody know. I'm sure they got enough firewalls up so there's protections and all, but that type of thing. I've seen Granges are doing. Yeah, even as we said,
they're getting so creative.
Oh, they are. Oh, Granges are getting creative. In some places, in some Granges, as bad as this is, how much it has been a great opportunity for them to, they've always wanted to do something different. Well, now's the opportunity to do something different. And look at how well it's working. You know, look at how well it's working. So I just love it. I love it. As I said, Granges do amaze me. Yeah, when I say they can't surprise me, they surprise me. They come up with these great ideas that you wouldn't think of. Because if Granges are anything, they care. Deep down in their hearts, they're most Grangers are caring individuals that really want to do well for their community, not to make themselves feel good, not to pat themselves on the back, because that's who we are and that's what we do. And that's why I like the fact they can send this stuff to my Facebook page, and I can brag about it for them. And that's where we're getting ideas. Like the other night, Grange posted about just ask a question. How about having, when things relax a little bit, and some states are starting to relax a little bit, is have an outdoor meeting. Do your social distancing, just have an outdoor meeting. Okay. Well, that brought up so much discussion that it was great. People think that's a great idea. Rainbow Valley Grange in California, apparently they've got a nice deck at that Grange Hall. And they said, well, why don't we just do it out on the deck, at night, sunset, that type of stuff. So sometimes people just need permission.
I think this has been a time where we've kind of felt like we've had permission to change things.
Mm-hmm.
And of course there's the concern about how much you change before you lose some of the traditions. And I mean, I've heard that a lot more with meetings and stuff, but of course Granges have traditions. Granges have things that they've done for 50 years, a plant sale for the past 50 years, a sub sale for 60 years. If they can't do something that they've always done this year, what kind of challenge would you levy to them?
What type of challenge you can cut out there?
Sorry, what kind of challenge would you levy to them? How would
to do a bigger and better next year? It bothers me, and I see it now and I understand it. A lot of Granges are canceling their Grange fairs, their agricultural fairs and things like that they've been putting on for 100 years or more, and that's hurting. That's not good. But the challenge is, okay, so we canceled it this year. Well, let's do it bigger and better next year. Why don't we do, maybe instead of having a agriculture, when things get relaxed a little bit, do a little mini fair in the fall. Maybe just have a canning and preservation fair, or have a pie fair or something like that. Just to keep the community involved. Okay, Grange's still doing this. We're going to do this again next year. But we're going to do a peach pie competition next year at the fair. But you know what? Let's do a peach pie fair in August when peaches are nice and fresh, and we'll tease you a little bit and let you work on your recipes, that type of things. Just keep relative in their minds. That's tough, but when you cancel, say we're just postponing it for a year.
I want to say that I've seen a lot of folks who have talked to people who are normally so busy in their other commitments and organizations that are finding themselves not in the same position that a lot of Granges are, because Grangers, if you want, have something to do now every day. We have lots of outreach in our communities beyond what we're doing here. And they've found that they have some more willing volunteers than they may have before, whether it be the granddaughter who doesn't have a play to do, or whether it be, the neighbor who has always been super involved in another fraternal organization that's not doing something like this. And by no means are we, thinking that you poach someone from another organization. We just want you to be good citizens and involved in your community. But I think it's really interesting to see the Granges that are staying very active and inviting people to our activities and things. They're finding that people are really responsive, and you may have more hands on deck than you have before. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I agree. It's an opportunity. And as we've said, people haven't had opportunities. They're kind of sitting around. There's only so much TV you watch. You only do so much laundry. And when it comes down to me ironing the sheets, I've about hit the limit. And people are looking for something to do. And the Granges who are willing to, open the doors a little bit differently and reach out to different people, as you said, the granddaughters that are home from school that, how many kids now are looking for something to do because they've done it? There's nothing left to do. The college kids that are home, high school kids that are home looking for something to do. Well, reach out to them and say, look, we're going to have this Zoom meeting, Zoom event, whatever you want to call it. And, I don't know how to do that. You do. Can you help me set this up? Can you help run this meeting or, Google Meets or whatever the different platforms are out there. But let's encourage the younger generation who has this skill, this ability with computers that I'll admit I don't have, to help set these meetings up and run these meetings. Those types of things.
Yeah, and just in general, I mean, you may never have had their hands available to you before to do anything from, setting up a meeting or creating a brochure all the way to stuffing little bags with treats for first responders or for, people on the front lines of this thing because they were too busy with their other commitments. Now, I believe that we hook people with our service when we involve them before we ask them to join. Not to say that you can't ask somebody to join right away, but you got to show them what it is to Grange, how much we have fun, how meaningful these things are, because boy, that's addictive.
Oh, it is. Once you start helping and seeing the people you help appreciate the help they're getting, and the smiles and the thank yous, absolutely. People generally want to help, as I've said, and with the younger generations, the younger generations really do want to be involved and want to give back to their communities. And if as you said, take a younger Grange member around if you want to deliver the congratulation graduation letters. Not so much so they hand it to them, but let them see the enthusiasm on that person's face. Let them see the enthusiasm and the happiness on that parent's face when their kid's getting a little personal note. Hey, congratulations. People need to see that. And as you said, once they do it 2 or 3 times, they'll get hooked. They'll say, well, why can't I do that?
Yeah. Right? I mean, having that gratitude is addictive, and we are almost an instant generation society now. And while it may take them a while to do a project, if they're involved in dispensing that charity, truly, they get that gratification. And if they can't be there to help in that specific way, communicating with them how grateful people were with what people said, or sharing with them thank you letters that you've received or anything like that, I think is a huge part of the process to continuing to keep volunteers as well.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. And again, we'll go back to the idea of personally delivering the letters, which I think is a great idea. Well, you got a smartphone with a camera on it, videotape all these, then find somebody, it wouldn't be me, to make a little 2-minute, 3-minute vignette out of that, of showing the kids getting the letters and the happy and enthusiasm on their faces. As a way to, as you said, have an electronic brochure that you can show that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these things are powerful and they get shared in your community because 15 people know that graduate and they will share that, and another 15 know a different graduate, and so on and so on. And all of a sudden your Grange name becomes so synonymous with, being an integral part and community partner,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're going to run into people that had no idea you're a member of that Grange, and now they know. And it just helps with that personal touch. And as you said, 5 shades of Kevin Bacon, everybody knows somebody 5 steps away or something. But absolutely, let's start, as we said, bragging about ourselves. That's one way. The brochure program you did was excellent because I learned some stuff. Basically, I thought it was hard. It's pretty simplistic if you think through it.
You break it down.
Yeah, just break it down. Just don't.
All of this stuff is kind of simplistic if you break down. I think that's the last part of this that I really wanted to hit on, Pete, because one thing is we see some of these projects and we think I could never do that. That's so big. How in the world did they put on a community dinner? How in the world did they, come up with this idea for whatever amazing project it is? But you're an expert here because you get to see us do all of these things, but also because you've grown up in Grange, doing the steps. Nobody just handed you a giant project from the very beginning and said, do every bit of it. So do you mind talking through a little bit about how Grangers, as they're getting new people interested, as they're getting new people involved, whether or not they've joined yet, how you give them pieces, how you piecemeal things out, how you identify talent, what do you think when you're working with someone about how they can truly prepare somebody to be able to be part of these projects?
Well, that's a great point. And that's one of the things we discussed many years ago is you got to have a conversation with someone. You've got to talk to them and find out what their interests are, what their abilities are, what do you do, those types of things. Because someone with 2 or 3 kids doesn't have time to do certain things, but they might be the greatest graphic artist you didn't realize it. And they'd be tickled to death to make a brochure for you. Or, find out what their interest is, what their desires are. You might have somebody that's never going to come to a meeting, but they'd be tickled to death to make phone calls for you, to call people, to ask questions. And if you see a project that you want to do, that you see another Grange doing, please reach out to that Grange. And if you can't find somebody in that Grange, reach out to me. I can find somebody for you and ask them, talk to them. How did you do this? How hard was it? What did you have to do? Who was your planning group? That type of stuff. And don't try to reinvent the wheel. Now, you try to improve it, that's fine, but don't try to reinvent it. And just communication more than anything else. Just talk to people, get to know them. Don't try to give someone too much right off the get-go. Just something simplistic, and they'll volunteer to do more. And on the flip side, if you have somebody that wants to do too much right off the get-go, try to, say, okay, we appreciate it. We got somebody that this time, but can you do this for me? And ease them into it. You don't want to burn somebody out either, right off the get-go.
This question kind of came to me because we had somebody who had pointed out, the Grange is an agricultural organization. We don't know where the service component came from. I don't really see that because every farmer I've ever met serves in so many ways their community. So I kind of feel like it goes hand in hand. But I went back into our manual and I was looking, and specifically what you just said. If you look at what the job of the steward is, according to our installation charge, it says your duty in the Grange is to learn the qualifications of new laborers, then assign them their proper places and set them to work. Granted, again, this is talking a little bit more agriculture, labor in the field type ideas, but really that's the same concept with what we're doing as far as some of our work and our outreach.
Oh, we're all stewards for the Grange. We're all stewards for our organization, and that's what we need to do. We need to start being is that type of person. Reach out, find out what people are. Cultivate their desires and needs to better our organization. And it's funny you bring that up, man. Every once in a while, you go through the manual and you read either one of the degree charges or you read an officer's charge, and there's probably something there that'll cover almost every situation. And in this time, if you're looking for something to read, just take a 4th degree manual and read it. No such can't. There's no secret work in there.
Well, this is a great time to memorize that manual too.
It is a great time to at least have it well down. I'm not a memorization. I just don't have that ability, but I also had the ability to read it and know it enough to get through so it sounded right. I'll admit that.
Yeah. But I mean, reading some of this stuff, in different contexts. And Joe and I talked about this on a program a while back. If you read this today in the COVID crisis versus if you had read this last December when everybody was filled with joy and spirit of the holidays versus, a year ago now, as everybody was getting ready to plant and there was no COVID shadowing the world, you've read it differently every time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It depends on what situation you're going through in life at the time is what you take out of it. There's a couple times I've read it and it's got me through a couple situations. I think that's how I need to handle this. So yeah, don't be afraid to pick up the manual and read it. There's some pretty good insight in there for gentlemen who were, back in the 1860s and didn't have the ability that we have now to gather information as quickly as we can. That's why I think the manual is such a great book. You know, the verbiage and the sentence structure and how it's written, and it flows.
Yeah. And, you know, Pete, our leaders, our original founders were so progressive. I mean,
Oh, for their time?
I'm talking, I mean, I am talking politically for them, but in general, you know, I'm not talking about the politics the way we see it today, right? Progressive, but just,
Right.
I mean, their thoughts of what to do and what society needed and things like that were so far advanced, so far ahead. And I think about that as we are looking at this crisis and we're looking at these Granges doing these amazing things. I think about it as we talk about Operation Graduation. I mean, there is still such progressive mind ingrained in the Grange, and our structure allows us to have it. It nurtures it.
It does nurture forward thinking. You know, that's what the Grange wants. If you go through the manual, they want you to be a forward thinker. You know, Mother Nature never looks backwards. It is a great line. And that's how we need to be as members. You know, be forward thinking. Don't be afraid to, if you see something needs to be done, don't be afraid to bring it up and to your meeting, to your members, say, let's do this. And here's why we should do this, and justify why you should do that. Not just because you want to, but here's a justification. Here's what we're going to get out of this. Here's why our community needs this today. And don't be afraid to try new ideas. They're not all going to work. That's fine. You learn. Trust me, when I was state master, I told people, just as I think it's a good idea, it doesn't mean it is.
That's a good philosophy. I don't know that we have any other questions, and I'm going to kill time for a minute so that if anyone does have any questions, I'll remind them now. Please put them in our comments of our forum so Peter, I can address them, because we want these to be fun and educational, but we also want them to be as interactive as we can make them. So
absolutely.
Questions in the comments section. In the meantime, Joan Smith had mentioned your plates on the wall that we talked about when we first started. And so I figured just to give us a minute to kill time in case anyone has one of those comments or questions, do you mind showing off those a little bit somehow? I don't know if you maybe want to just walk over and point to what they are or tell us a little about them.
Well, I can try. We'll try.
Just because I think it's a good idea doesn't mean it's going to work, Pete.
That might work. So these are different state Grange plates for their 100th anniversary. Most of them. Some states, believe it or not, like, I'll get to it. Of course, we got Delaware, Jersey, Pennsylvania right there, New Hampshire, okay, Mass, Ohio. Maine had like 2 or 3 plates. They liked each other so much. Interesting there is they put all their state presidents, state masters around their plate. There's my pride and joy, Missouri. And then Colorado, Michigan. And they're all kind of different, which I like. And then on this wall, that's the light. That doesn't count. Now I got these separated up here. You really can't see them real well. But up here, I don't know if you can see them or not, are different either Pomona Granges or local Granges who have done plates. There's Berks County, Pennsylvania. And then I also have one from the Pennsylvania State Grange that has the dorm room at Penn State, has a plate. Then, of course, we have our National Grange anniversary stuff. That group of individuals there.
I know some of these people.
Some New Jersey State Grange items there. And various and sundry other items spread around.
But that really is a wonderful Grange room.
Well, I forget why I got started, but I just like the different artwork of the different Granges and the different states. Kansas, they went just totally crazy. And they did a plate and a little picture.
Oh, that's adorable.
It is adorable. And then North Carolina did a, I think, 50 year, and it's like a blue glass. which I think is spectacular. It's the only one I've seen. You know, that type of stuff. So some get creative. So, you know, and then Connecticut did their plate and another little picture.
Aww.
So found a lot of this on eBay. A lot of it on eBay, actually.
You know, we should have a Grange show and tell some night.
There's a great idea.
This is inspiration, Pete, for
that'd be a Lester Gibbs thing. He's probably got the best collection of stuff.
Yeah, that's
probably one of the most. That's a horrible English statement. Something I'm proud of and I wear is, you know, we all know the Grange pins like this that would have your Grange, they're blue to have your Grange name and all that. Well, on the flip side was what you would wear when you went to a Grange funeral. So whenever I go to someone who's passed that was a Grange member, I always wear this piece of regalia as a memory to them. And then we're really killing time. In case you're really bored, this is a copy of the Constitution bylaws for the Dominion Grange.
Yes, and I need to say thank you, because that was the basis of the article that we did in the Third Good Day magazine. If anybody's coming to our trivia night, I'm just going to tell you, if you have your good days, you might want to look at a couple of those fluffs up a little bit, because we took some from that issue last week, and it was specifically, the question was, what was the name of the National Grange equivalent in Canada? So Dominion Grange.
Nice.
Samantha Wilkins, our junior director, just had a quick reminder for those junior Grangers being active in their communities. They should also be keeping track. This isn't just a subordinate Grange, adult matters, so that they can be recognized for their community service. The recipients of the award that's, you know, done at convention will be put into the magazine, but they're also eligible, as Joan Smith mentioned, to apply for that $100 grant from the foundation for doing community service.
Excellent.
And I know that I know we have Joan there and whatever, and you're not the person for that, but I was hoping that you might just talk about how important it is to keep track of these for that grant, you know, and how that stuff crosses a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's very important to keep track of those items, those numbers. As you said, one, for the grants, because I think that's wonderful that the foundation is doing that for Granges, that we realize that a lot of Granges, you know, because they're not having their fairs, they're not having their dinners, you know, their money pipeline's pretty much cut off other than dues and whatever else they can figure out how to do a fundraiser. I saw one Grange was going to do their auction, their $5 auction online. Stanford Grange up in New York, I believe it was. Yeah, so they're being creative, but you know, here's an opportunity for a Grange to put in an application to get some money to help run a community service project or help their Grange. If you contact Joan Smith at the National Grange Foundation, I'm sure she will be tickled to death to give you that information. And also, speaking of that, Amanda, thank you for reminding me. Youth members, you know, we do the Youth Community Service Award, and last year, Manny and I were talking, and we named the Youth Community Service Award the Wib and June Justy Community Service Award for what the Justies did for the youth programs throughout this country on the national level, on the state level. They're just wonderful people, and I couldn't think of a better way to honor them. You know, June is still kicking around in Ohio, and you know, so the winner, and we're going. What's that?
I said, and their daughter Mary, who's in Maryland, is looking to get back involved in Grange again, and she was just so thrilled. I didn't get to really tell you this before. She was just so thrilled to hear that her parents were, you know, the inspiration for that award. So thank you and Mandy for that.
And we're working on a plaque that we're going to hang at National Grange Building with each year's winner on it. You know, the first winner was Ryan Orton from New York. So Mandy has that information how to nominate a youth member for that award. To me, that's a very prestigious award. You know, that's a biggie. Don't be afraid to nominate a youth member for that. We need to recognize people. And I want to thank Loretta for the idea of getting the plaque to show it national, which I keep forgetting to send her information, but we'll get it there.
Well, this will serve as your reminder. How's that?
Oh, trust me, every time I talk to her.
I just like to tell you, Pete, you're not the only one with a Grange room. Although my walls are bare, I have a Grange room that consists mostly of a Grange closet of things. But Linda Kincaid Rothwell just said that she also has a Grange room, and I think I've heard of a few others. So we
there
definitely
are a few around.
Go and tell.
There's just some great memorabilia around. That's for sure. Linda, great person. There's a great Grange member right there. Dear friend, if you haven't gotten a copy of her book, she actually did a history book on Gardner Grange in Kansas, which is, I do have an autographed copy I'm very proud of that I keep out. That's a wonderful thing too. So Linda will compare notes. Who's got more Grange stuff?
Well, I am going to let you all argue that one out. I'll tell you, I don't think I'm in the running for that, but I will tell you that that would be a really cool event to do, because for some of us who haven't been around the Grange for quite as long, to see some of those old things, the memorabilia and things come out, it really gives you ideas of, when we are the force to be reckoned with again, thanks in great part to all the community service that these folks are doing to get, the Grange's profile raised and have people want to be members with us. All the things that we could have, today, because I don't care how much of a digital world it is, that little banner pin is so cool and will be such a neat thing to wear when I'm doing community service or when I'm walking in a parade or when I'm at a funeral, or, it would have been super cool for our members to have had those at our wedding, because we had a number of Grange members who came to our wedding. So just things like that, I think, so neat to see. So,
oh yeah, every Grange should have a box of those somewheres. Yeah, like they're red and white with a blue thing that has your Grange name on it and where you're located and that type of stuff. Don't wear them enough.
Yeah.
Don't wear them enough. And that's a great point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, and those new Granges out there, I mean, I'd be coveting one of those.
You can find them. Yeah. Yeah. Every once in a while, you'll see one show up on eBay, different Granges and stuff. But that's my home Grange. So that's why I wear that one. This is a personal thing to me. But any other questions? Or we've almost hit our hour deadline. Hopefully I haven't yacked on too long.
Well, no, we have hit our hour. We are about to be done. I wanted to thank everybody who joined us. We've seen, including Ryan Orton, who was mentioned, for having won last year's first Wib and June Justy Award for Youth Community Service. And Mandy Boswick joined us, and she made sure to provide the link to how you can nominate someone for that. So thank you all for making sure to keep us on our toes as far as having some of that in the comments, because I had not gotten those ready. So we got kind of ventured in this, Pete, but I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this stuff.
And I guess we need to mention, if you want to nominate, or if you want to get a letter for a student, we can send you the link. I'm not sure if it's made to the National Grange website or not yet.
It has. It's actually the first thing that you see on our website, on that slider on the very top. It's called Operation Graduation. You see caps and gowns, and I am putting the link here in the comments right now, so you have those as well.
And if anybody wants to, just send me an email, give me a call. I've had a couple calls about it from Granges I've never talked to before, which is a wonderful thing. So let's keep them coming. I'm not sure how many we have. I know we had 15, 17 earlier yesterday, I believe. So I'm sure we picked up a couple more.
Well, there are 1,700 Granges out there. So I expect that Betsy's hand is going to be terribly cramped signing all of these.
Exactly. And we're trying to support the U.S. Postal Service too. So let's get those letters out there.
Honestly, I think that's the selling point. If I put this on Twitter, is nominate your senior or, 8th grade person or whomever. We will send it through the USPS and you will help save the Postal Service.
I like
it. I'm not sure if we have the budget for that.
I like it.
Well, thank you again so much, Pete. I appreciate it. We're sure to have you back here to talk about some of these Granges who are doing incredible things.
I'd be delighted.
I appreciate that very much. And we'll look forward to having you help us identify a couple more Granges that may be able to come on, talk about their projects, so people might be able to emulate them as well.
Great idea. I think they need to be showcased. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It is Tuesday. I have finally learned to write the day of the week on my board over there because I clearly have no idea what's going on half the time anymore. Wednesday, we will rejoin you at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're talking about a really important issue tomorrow. We have a gentleman from the National Organization Rally, which is a prescription abuse, anti-opioid prescription abuse organization. Several of our state Granges have partnered with Rally, including Illinois, Maryland, Oregon, and others. And they'll be talking about what's going on with the opioid crisis today, because of course, COVID has kind of sucked all the oxygen out of the room. And all these things that we've been talking about prior to it are still happening under the surface. And so we're going to welcome him tomorrow to talk a little bit about what's going on and also about how Granges can be involved, even if your state hasn't done a formal partnership with the Rally Coalition. So we'll see you at 5 o'clock tomorrow. And don't forget, if you are interested, we are still looking for players for Friday night. I expect Pete Pompper's going to be there and a bunch of other great characters. So we would love for you to come play trivia with us. It's not just Grange trivia. There'll be 1 or 2 Grange questions. So you definitely want to recruit Pete for your team for one of those. But make sure to sign up. Our information is on our Facebook page. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Be safe and wash your hands.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.